Mr. McConley here with BKW Intro to Agriculture, and we're out in the field today and we're going to be cutting a little bit of grass. Now this is we have a real short window here of today and tomorrow, and so what we're going to do is we're going to cut down the headlands, or 6 laps around the outside, and we're going to do that wet bales, round bales, and wrap them for silage bales. So they're going to be ensiled, and we've learned about that earlier in the year. And basically we need to get this dried down so that it's not soaking wet, but it can still have quite a bit of moisture in it, because that moisture will help to later ferment the bales. So Farmer Andrew's on the tractor right now with the hay bine, and he's mowing along, and like I said, we're going to do 6 rows, and I think the plan is we have it spread out pretty far because the temperatures are cool today, and so what we want to do is we want to get this to dry enough. Then we're going to take and we're going to rake 2 rows. Every 2 rows we're going to rake into 1 row and then bale it up. And by spreading it out, it just gets it to dry a little bit quicker. So we'll watch him go by, and then I'll talk a little bit more. So a hay bine has the little back and forth sickle action. It doesn't have any spinning discs. That's all it's called, a disc bine. So this particular hay bine cuts a 9-foot width. And if you think about the way a field's laid out, when you're doing the outside edges, they tend to be shaded anyway. So you can see that this hedgerow here on this side, and then on the far side, the trees, that'll provide shade to the edges that we're cutting right now, which does not help with drying. So if we were trying to do dried hay on the outside edges under these conditions, it just wouldn't dry. It would just be too shaded, and it wouldn't get enough air to it. So by cutting the outsides, doing them as silage bales, we can get these out of the way. Then our next stretch that we have that looks like good weather for doing hay, we can actually lay down the middle of this field. And when we lay down the middle of this field, that'll all be exposed out in the sun, out in the wind, and we can probably have a much better shot of getting dry hay out of it. So, just to kind of give you a picture of the total plan. So, today we cut, we just let it sit here. Tomorrow we continue to let it sit, and about lunchtime or so tomorrow, maybe a little bit later depending on, I got to kind of get a feel for how much it's dried. The top should be getting a little bit crusty or dry, and the bottom should be still feeling wet. At that point, I'll come out here with the rake, and we'll take every 2 rows and rake them into 1 row. So you rake one way all the way in towards the middle, then you turn the rake around, then you come back out, and by doing that you take every 2 rows and make them into 1 row. Then at that point I might let it sit a little bit longer. It's going to be just a judgment call, see how the weather is, see how it's drying. Then I'll come up here with the round baler, and the round baler we will bale around, and those bales will be net wrapped. In other words, they won't have strings, they'll have this thin netting stuff on them, and they're going to be heavy because they're wet. We'll collect those up onto a trailer, we'll haul them down the hill, and then where they're going to be stored for the rest of the year until we use them, right at that location we'll get out the wrapper and we'll wrap them in the white plastic and plunk them right where they're going to stay, and they won't be moved until the fall when they're being fed to animals. So that's kind of the plan. Hopefully all goes well. It's a little dicey with this weather because it is cold this morning. It's only about 50 degrees, so we'll see how it goes. And for right now, this is Mr. McConley with BKW Intro to Agriculture.